What are your issues?
Doc, thank you very much. Since this matter broke, I have been very silent on it because it's an issue that is a bit technical, and I wanted to apprise myself of all the relevant facts before coming to any conclusions on the matter. But when a scandal like this comes out, you need to hear all sides. I watched the documentary which was put together by the Fourth Estate with the support of ASEP, and for a long time I had not gotten the detailed accounts or counter-narrative of the SML. I saw a few statements they issued on the matter, but last Saturday I had an opportunity to watch their public relations officer on Newsfile and listen to a more detailed response from the perspective of the company on the issues that the Fourth Estate had raised. And look, I am totally appalled and disgusted by the damning and chilling details of the scandal. Yes, we know that this Akufo-Addo MPP government is and has been the most corrupt in the history of Ghana. We know they have over 100 corruption scandals to their name. And I know many Ghanaians who have become numb to corruption scandals. They talk about corruption scandals under this government because it's been one too many. The scandals are just numerous. Okay. But I am still shocked. I am still disgusted about this particular scandal because of the nature of it. And if you understand this scandal well, you see a lot of people are talking about SML, SML, SML. Look, not many have taken their time to study the facts. Not many appreciate what the real issues are. If you understand it, you'll be angry. If you understand the scandal, you will weep for Ghana. Because it is the biggest rape of the public purse in recent time. No scandal beats this one. And you see, we as a political party, the NDC, decided to wade into the matter because of the recent attempts by the Akufo-Addo NPP government to cover up this serious issue. There are clear cover-up attempts or efforts being made by the government. And as a responsible opposition, we are duty-bound to speak, and that is why we spoke. You see, and the reason why those watching must pay attention, those who can speak must speak up, is that we are talking about billions of Ghana cedis gone down the drain. At a time when our nation is faced with economic bankruptcy, our country is faced with an economic mess which is affecting all of us. The SML scandal is just unacceptable. Now, what are the facts? So you know that the NPP won the 2016 election, and by virtue of that, President Akufo-Addo and his vice Alhaji Bawumia were sworn into office on the 7th of January 2017. 7 January 2017. Then a new company was formed immediately after, 37 days after. A new company was formed called Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML. It was incorporated on the 14th of February 2017, Valentine's Day. Look, the stated capital of the company is 10,000 Ghana cedis. The paid up shares of the company is 10,000 Ghana cedis. The company was incorporated by a person, shareholder, okay, who is called Evans Edusei. And before the incorporation of this company, all that this person was known for was timber affairs. Because he runs a company called Evans Timbers. So he is into timbers. Then his party comes into office 37 days after. He goes to register a company for trading and auditing. He is not an auditor himself and not a finance person himself. But he goes to register this company. Look, Barely 4 months after that, 4 months, President Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and the NPP decide to give a very important contract at the port to this 4-month-old baby company called SML. What is that contract? Transaction auditing contract at the port. Which means what? It means that the government says that it doesn't trust that importers are paying the right import duties and fees at the port. And so it needs somebody to assist GRA, a company to assist GRA, check what is being paid at the port to see that the right fees, charges, and duties are being paid. Now bear in mind that before the NDC left office, we had awarded a contract for this same purpose to a company called West Blue. And West Blue was doing this job. Immediately the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government took office, they targeted that job and sought to give that job to this 4-month-old company called SML. This company at the time had no prior experience in auditing or revenue assurance. They had no customer. Their customer base was zero. They had no clientele. They had done no job before. I've heard their PRO say that, oh, we procured a system from Texas and expertise from here. Look, elementary company law. A company is distinct from the personality of its shareholders. The experience of the directors or workers of a company is not the experience of the company, because the two are distinct. That is right.
It's complementary.
Complementary, but you can't say that it is for the company because
it can't substitute.
Exactly, because the workers can leave at any time. And what happens?
It becomes an added advantage.
An added advantage. So at the time they had no such experience, the government sought to give them this job at the port that I've already explained. And what was the issue is not the fact that they sought to give them a job when they were only 4 months old, but that they sought to give them the job through sole sourcing. You recall that in opposition, the NPP said sole sourcing was tantamount to corruption. Doc, you recall? Mm-hmm. They said anything that has sole sourcing in it was corruption. So when they came into office, they told us that sole sourcing was going to be a thing of the past. They even appointed a minister for procurement. Procurement breaches were deemed as an abomination by the NPP. They've been prosecuting people for procurement breaches, some of whom they have jailed in the NCA case. They removed an EC chairperson on the basis of alleged procurement breaches. And then they come and decide to give this juicy contract, which was already being performed by West Blue, to a 4-month-old company on sole sourcing basis. Between June 2017 and September 2017, according to the president, 3 separate requests for sole sourcing to engage SML on sole sourcing basis were made to the PPA. And all of that were flatly refused by the PPA. Because sole sourcing is governed by law, Section 40 of the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 63. You can only sole source a contract to a company where the company has exclusive expertise, or where there is a crisis, or where a transaction is of an urgent nature. None of these conditions existed in the case of government's attempt to engage SML. So all the requests were refused, rightly so. Then, Doc, this government, hell-bent on achieving whatever sinister agenda they had, decided to defy the PPA. That you won't give us approval to engage SML on sole sourcing, fine. Through the back door, we will engage them. So what did they do? They now engage SML as a subcontractor of West Blue. They impose this 4-month-old company on West Blue as their subcontractors. But because that is a government work, a public service that West Blue was engaging for the government, that agreement which engaged SML as a subcontractor to West Blue, should have gone through the procurement process. Doc, it didn't go through. That was when the criminality, the illegalities, that is when it started. According to the president, all these facts are contained in the statement issued by the president. And look, in addition to that, the GRA has another layer to the task of SML, which is external price verification. What does that mean? Sometimes we confuse people with the jargon, so I like to break them down. What it means is that when you bring your goods into the country, the import duty you pay is determined based on the price you bought that item outside the country. And so because of that, a lot of people lie about the price they buy those imported items so that they can pay lower import duty. So they needed a company which could deploy a system of verifying the external prices importers give for their items they bring into the country. And they gave this contract to this same SML. Then in December 2018, West Blue is kicked out. Their contract ends under bizarre conditions. It is not extended. And this SML is asked to now take over the work of West Blue at the ports as the main contractor. And this doesn't also go through the procurement process. Look, in addition to that, the Kufuor Bawumia government says that players in the downstream petroleum sector, the OMCs who sell fuel at the fuel stations, the BDCs who bring fuel from outside the country into the country, they suspect that they are not paying correct taxes to GRA. So they want a company that can deploy a system to check that. That's what we call the downstream petroleum audit services. So they award this new contract to the same SML. Here again, they don't go through any procurement process. Not even so sourcing. They didn't go through any procurement process at all. They don't present this to the GRA board, who by law, and I know you are a stickler for corporate best practices in corporate governance, the GRA board doesn't even get the opportunity to discuss and approve the transaction. And without the board approving it, the GRA Act says GRA cannot enter into such a contract. So they breach the GRA Act. They breach the Public Procurement Act. And then, because it's a multi-year agreement, it's an agreement that...
In fact, in the NCA case, one of the key things that they relied on was that it was a subcommittee of the board
that gave the approval. And not the board itself. This one, no board discussion or approval. Then, no PPA approval. Then, no parliamentary approval. You know, Section 33 of the Public Financial Management Act, which is our accounting law, which governs the utilization of public finances, says that when any state agency is engaging, it says any covered entity, including state agencies like GRA, if they are engaging any contractor, signing any contract, which goes beyond a year, Parliament must consider that agreement and approve it. In this case, all these agreements, whether it's a transaction audit agreement, the external price verification transaction, or the downstream petroleum audit transaction, none was presented to Parliament for approval. So, one transaction violating 3 different laws of Ghana. Then, Doc, after doing all this, what is even sickening is the kind of job they gave SML. So, in the case of the downstream petroleum audit services, they say we don't trust that the OMCs and BDCs are paying the right taxes because there is a gap between the volumes of oil that is declared as having come into the country and the volume of oil for which GRA receives tax for. But they forget that there are certain technical issues that lead to reduction in volume. So you can never have the volume of oil that comes into the country being equal to the taxes that are paid to GRA on them because of evaporation, because of leakages, spillage, stealing of the oil. You understand? And other practices that can lead to losses.
In fact, there are some that are bound for other countries.
Bound for other countries and so on. They come and then it is exported to another country and so on. However, genuinely, there are incidents where OMCs sell the fuel or BDCs sell the fuel and they fail to pay the necessary taxes to government. Now the NPA, which is the regulator for that sector, know that this is a challenge. And they have already deployed systems to deal with this challenge. A system called Enterprises Relational Data Management System, ERDMS. I didn't say it. The man who said, "Wallahi, we need to rescue Ghana," he said it, Mustafa Hamid. And he is the head of NPA, Akufo-Addo's darling boy. He says that this job you have given to SML, NPA, a state regulator, is already doing it, and that it is not necessary. And they have even engaged the services of private companies to assist them. One is called ACES, one is called Rock Africa, who are already doing that, and that is beginning to yield results. And so, currently, it is not possible for you to load fuel from any depot and upload it at any retail center without going through the ERDMS system, which is linked to the ICOM system at the ports. So the work was not only illegal, but superfluous and duplicitous, totally irrelevant and useless. And yet, and to show that it is duplicitous and useless, no value for money assessment was done before the award of any of these contracts. No needs assessment was done according to the presidency. They awarded it. And I was shocked to find the amount of money that has been paid to this company. According to the presidency, 1 billion Ghana cedis and over. We are talking about over 10 trillion old Ghana cedis paid to a company for what we can't quantify, for work that no value for money audit has been done in relation to, no needs assessment has been done in relation to, and paid under illegal contracts. That is the key thing for me as a lawyer. Because the Supreme Court has had the occasion times without number to pronounce on this matter, that the state cannot make valid payments under illegal contracts. They said so in the Isophoton case, in the Waterville case, in the Woyome cases. It wasn't because those companies provided no service of value to the state, but because those agreements were awarded in contravention of law, our court said no way, no valid payments can be made. Now the president concedes that all these laws, procurement law, GRA Act, Public Financial Management Act, have been brazenly, disregarded with impunity, rendering the agreements illegal. Then they tell us that, but a new administration came at GRA and decided to ratify the agreements. Look, I've studied the procurement law very well. The only provision that talks about possible ratification is Section 90, which is based on Section 89. And here I'm talking about the amendments to the procurement law. And to ratify an agreement, it doesn't happen in the manner they claim this one happened. It has to be the PPA conducting an investigation. The law stipulates how the investigation must be done. And on the basis of an investigation, ratifying a wrong that has been performed under the law. In this case, no such investigation has gone on. Section 89 and Section 90 of the Public Procurement Law has not been adhered to. And therefore, any purported ratification is unlawful. It cannot right that illegality that took place in 2018 and 2019 in relative to the award of those 3 illegal contracts. But assuming without admitting that they could ratify that, can you ratify the breach of no parliamentary approval? Has that one to be ratified? No. And the lack of parliamentary approval is grave. It goes to the foundation of the contracts. Then you pay 1 billion over 10 trillion to this company. And the president says that, look, as for the transaction audit service, Ghana, they say that the company performed it partially in capital letters. Not fully, partially. External verification, price verification, partial performance. And that the state derived only limited benefits. We didn't get the full benefits of the payments we made. But that in the downstream sector, we should allow this company that has been a beneficiary of illegal contracts and the payments thereof to continue their downstream petroleum or the services. My goodness, Doc. My goodness. A whole president who is a lawyer, supported by an economist, Vice President Bawumia, saying that a company has engaged in illegalities, criminality. People are in jail for lesser offenses, lesser breaches of law. And you are telling this company that continue to perform your contract so that we can pay you more despite violating the law? What can justify this? What can justify? The only thing that can justify this is that the corruption clearing agent is at it again. He wants to cover up because they are beneficiaries of the loot. I don't think that whatever payments, illegal payments, and I don't, because you see, KPMG says that they asked SML to justify the investments they claim to have made. They claim to have made millions of dollars of investment. And the KPMG says, according to the president's account of the KPMG report, that no supporting document was provided by SML to support their investment. How then do you ask this company, who can't even provide documentation to support their investments, for which reason they are being paid, to continue doing this work? Something that your own agency, NPA, is already doing. And the justification is that, Doc, I don't know whether you've listened to them, that, our petroleum volumes and revenue have gone up in recent times. So it means that SML is doing something right. Then we ask, show us one OMC that who has been convicted for either under declaration or tax fraud on the basis of the work of SML. One. You know that since they started this contract, not even one OMC, one player in the oil sector, has been caught or penalized on the basis of SML's work. The GRA says, if you watch that documentary, SML's own IT guru confessed that what they are doing is the same thing the NPA is doing, their own IT guru. In the same documentary, the GRA says that it doesn't use SML's data or work as basis for revenue collection. So, according to the government itself, this is a completely useless, relevant transaction that we are wasting billions of money on. Billions of monies which could have been used for social infrastructure, for job creation, for the creation of prosperity for suffering Ghanaians, going down the drain. When we don't even have oxygen machines and what? MRI machines, X-ray machines in key hospitals in this country. And we can waste 1 billion cedis on a contract that offers no value for money that state agencies are saying is completely irrelevant and useless. And to end, Doc, I've looked at the data that Imani has published. The rate of increase in petroleum products, both the volume and also the revenue, before SML's illegal entry in the downstream petroleum sector has been the same as after they entered.
You mean the historical?
The historical trend. And you see, the fact that volumes are going up and revenue is going up doesn't mean SML is doing anything. This is common sense. Because, Doc, petrol prices have not remained static.
I mean, typical example, just look at tax revenue. Mm-hmm. Just do it from 2016 till date. You will see
the increasing trend. Because new taxes have been
introduced.
It's just
like saying that in the year 2016, we collected revenue of, let's say, 47 billion.
Yes.
And so we've brought in a company. We moved to 68 billion.
So it means
they were responsible for that.
Without telling us.
Pay them for the difference.
Yes.
Then
and they are paid a commission on the entire difference.
Yes. And then the revenue moves from 68 to 100.
Then they are paid a commission on that difference.
Yes.
When there are natural factors.
So for this year,
responsible
this year that we are expecting to hit about 150, 160 billion.
Doc, because look, you have imposed a new energy sector levy on the price build-up of fuel, boiler tax on fuel, and so on. Why won't petroleum revenue go up? Petrol consumption is going up because the economy is growing. The number of people who consume fuel in Ghana keeps going up. So it will go up. New taxes and all that. And in fact, under the period that SML has been doing its work, if you look at the performance of some of the levies on the price build-up of fuel, some have been on the decline. That one, SML is not responsible. But when market forces and government intervention in the form of taxes lead to an increase in revenue, oh, that one is SML. They should get a commission. And look, this doesn't make sense.
They have said one is that people sit and decide that we should shift this to the upstream sector and also to the mineral sector. That for every single mineral, they would earn 75 cents.
Every barrel of oil we produce in the upstream sector as a country, 75 cents. Why? Because they are going to monitor some companies there and ensure that they pay the right taxes. Does this make sense? Right. Master, do people still have a conscience in this country? No patriotic Ghanaian, no person with a conscience, nobody who has a modicum of love for this country will support this. Right. And I'm happy with the trend I'm beginning to see. On Newsfile, I didn't see the NPP rep defending this. They allowed SML themselves to defend this, and I'm waiting for the day that I will meet that PRO to defend. She was asked a simple question. Were your contracts...
She's a director, not a PRO.
Director. She was asked, were your contracts approved by Parliament? Say, I'm not a lawyer. Must you be a lawyer to know whether your contracts have been approved by Parliament or not? Okay. So I'm beginning to see a very good trend of MPP people saying, Master, speak for yourself. Because we... I want to see what the communication director will
blackmailing
I want to see.
Richard. Anyway,
we must unite, especially we the young ones. Some of these things, if it cannot happen under John Mahama, but if it happens, we will speak against it. And I expect young people like myself in the NPP to rise up and speak against this. Because they are, and Doc, I just want to conclude by saying, we are not against, Richard, sorry. Yes, I've spoken for long, sorry about that. We are not against revenue assurance. Look, I'm not against the company. Yes. If you are doing business and you're doing it legitimately, based on value for money, needs assessment, and your contracts are lawful, and you are being paid, I have no problem with that. Yes. But you cannot breach our laws with impunity like we live in a jungle.
But why are we blaming the company?
Why? Because the company...
Do you know why I say this?
No, we can't blame the company alone. President Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and the NPP takes the chunk of the blame, but the company too cannot exculpate itself from blame because, in law, the company has a duty to ensure that once you are dealing with government,
I have absolutely
state laws are being respected.
I have absolutely no problem with that. But my point is that for a Ghanaian who is interested in how your taxes are utilized, there are people who you have voted, either elected or appointed into office, who you pay or create the conditions conducive for them to be able to work in your interest. Now, if you have a situation where these people surreptitiously, on 3 occasions, decide to go and get a single source approval, and they do not get it, and they go and find a back door to get this thing subcontracted, and then when the main contractor's contract ends, they find a way of giving the contract to this company without going through due process. And then they even see the need to now add your upstream and mineral revenue to it. And that is only when they now go for approval. Because at that time, the company perhaps has some 4-year or 5-year or 3-year experience, which will then enable the PPA to grant that thing. I mean, if you look at how the thing was structured, my point is that yes, SML is the company involved. But you see, no private company requests the PPA
to do that. They don't have the power to
do business with the government. No private company does that. No private company can submit any document to the PPA.
No, they can't.
No private company can
submit even the application to the board of
Yes, no private company does that.
You're absolutely right.
Anyway,
absolutely right.
Well, you know, I think that this issue is that important that I suppose I don't know if we have enough time for it. But for Sabi's preemptive point of saying that no MPP would defend this, when he's talking so roughly about the party and government, I think that it merits that we explain a few things. You know, what I know about this contract generally is that it is not an outright contract of reward, right? It has inherent in it risk, and that the supposition is that there is a problem of revenue leakages following from shortages in the liftings of petroleum product and the downstream sector, and therefore we want some way of assuring that we get the revenue for all that in terms of tax revenue from the liftings that go from the depots. And so, I mean, this is not necessarily all the fuel that comes in, but in accounting for what has been lifted from the depots, how do we ensure that what is lifted, the commensurate taxes are paid on them? And so we need a system that will ensure that we are able to, get the taxes on the items or the liters that are lifted. Now, the difficulty I see before I proceed is that is a space, an interested space. There are interests there, right? People who want to protect that space for themselves. And so in a situation where you find a new entrant who is coming in to do something perhaps to conflict or to compete with what they are doing, there's a justified need to fight back. So I see this on one level as people within the space trying to fight back.
Who are those? Who will be those people?
That would be all of the service providers in that space. They may have an interest, inherent interest, to want to fight back. Because one, what you have there is the measurement of items or petroleum products taken from the depots, right, are only recorded by MPA's meters that then record into the ERDMS system that OMC Randy has taken 2,000 liters. SME OMC has taken 1,000 liters. OMC have taken so many. Now, that meter alone, from what I understand, is that meter alone is what is providing that information. And that has led over time to OMCs loading over and above their bond capacities. And you hear over time that OMCs owe GRA so much money, right, that they are not able to pay those monies and they go bankrupt and they disappear.
But that's different.
That's what the SML is checking.
No, I'm saying for those who owe.
Yeah.
Those are those whose tax liabilities have been established.
Yes.
That's the only reason why you say they owe.
Right.
Because you've established the tax liability.
Yes.
In this case, we are talking. In this case, we are talking about those whose tax liability
you don't even know.
You don't know. So you believe that there is a certain
gap,
loophole that they utilize. So you're saying that I can tell that there is, say, maybe 400. I'm just using the figure. Say 400 liters of crude has been taken from MPA. Yet the records at GRA shows that only 300 liters of fuel has been accounted for.
Right.
Not so. Okay. Now, Richard, and I'm just taking you through this small exercise. Every single company that will lift something from NPA has a tax responsibility or liability with the GRA in the name of the company. So, it is easy for you to determine that these are the list of companies that have lifted fuel from NPA. These are the quantities that they lifted. And to be able to strike that against
the taxes
at the GRA. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I'm following you.
So if Ayagba Petroleum Company lifted 50 liters, and Jemfi Petroleum Company lifted 100 liters, and Abe Petroleum lifted 70 liters, what you're saying is that the GRA must have Ayagba 50 liters. If Ayagba has not paid, it is a liability. They will chase you for that. It's there. Jemfi's 100, it should be there. Abe Petroleum 70, whether they've paid fully, partially, not paid, it should be there. So it is very easy for us to find out that, look, Of the 50,
and to add, when they are going to offload at the retail center, there is a meter that checks what they are going to.
That's not relevant.
But the point I'm making is that so it's easier when you take the NPA records to see that Ayagba took 50.
Loaded.
What is the tax thing on
it?
Has he paid or not? So if Ayagba has not paid, you can determine that Ayagba has not paid. You understand me?
Yeah.
Okay. If you do not even have record of Ayagba GRA, that then becomes
that's a different matter. Yeah.
Because you see, what these people are doing is not about collecting and pay taxes on behalf of GRA.
Right.
But it's just saying that there's no correlation between what people take from NPA, who should pay taxes, and the actual taxes they pay. So you should be able to determine that Ayagba took 50, but his paid taxes are only 20, and therefore Ayagba has underdeclared by 30.
Yes.
And so hold Ayagba responsible for that.
Yes.
It should be clear.
There's ER.
But you just cannot say that something shows that there's 400 at NPA, but the taxes that we have collected is 250, and therefore there is 150 that is hanging. What constitutes this 150? Who lifted this 150? And what constitutes this 150?
Look, okay, so let me come back to the point. You tried to illustrate, I think that's okay, but that actually is making the point I am making.
All the point I'm trying to make is that just by taking the list of those who have taken fuel from NPA as against their tax obligations, you will be able to determine
where the problem is.
Company by company who took what they declared or under declared. So that if the company took 50, but 40 was meant for Burkina Faso, you will know that then the 10 that they paid makes sense. Because the 40, they are not supposed to pay taxes on it because it is not bound for Ghana. And it's a reason why the NPA has even put in place some measures where you cannot even offload the things that are meant for
a certain place.
Yes.
So that's fine. So those are additional measures.
So when we lump those things, so my point is that when we lump those things and just do a simple addition and subtraction and attribute everything to a particular contract and say that on that basis, then we are liable to pay X amount of money.
Okay,
so I've not even come to the legalities and the breach of all those rules.
Even that, I think that they, as we speak, they have. I've seen documents of their ratified PPA documents. I've seen that. But is it the point I want to make, which was what I was trying to establish for you? Is there a need for SML? And if you look at the KPMG,
is there a need for revenue assurance?
Yes.
Yes.
If you look at the KPMG report, it did establish that yes, there was cause. There was cause for that business, right? Which was the basis of saying that the fight against them, much of all these things, may be a function of sector competition. That with a cabinet,
I disagree.
That's fine.
You know why?
But that is my conclusion.
If I construct, you see the story.
Let me make the point.
If you even take the president's statement, 1 minute, you take the president's statement, and you construct the SML story, it tells you something.
Okay, fine. Let me make the point. So what I'm saying is that the example you gave, okay, the ERDMS is there that is controlled by NPA, provides the singular view of what has been lifted. GRA does not control that, does not have access to that data on it. That data is transmitted to it. It doesn't have any comparator to that data. What SML is doing is giving GRA real view of what is being lifted from the depots, for which it is supposed to get taxes for. You understand? Hitherto, that data will be transferred to them. But now, GRA through SML can see real time what is coming out.
Did they ever request for it? Did they ever request for a plugin? We are talking about two state entities.
Yeah. So just hold on. I mean, that is not for us to determine. That there's a need for the business. They have done it, but we are just discussing the product. Okay, so what is SML doing? One, provide view to GRA and say that these are things that have been lifted from your from the depots for which you are entitled for taxes. Now, the key thing we have to note is that before, and you're making the analysis with Jemfi, Richard, and all that OMCs. The thing about it is that every OMC, they are subject to able to lift based on their
BDCs.
not the BDCs, OMCs.
Yes.
Now at the depots, the
yes,
OMCs.
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It is they are subject to lifting consistent with their insurance bond capacities, right? So with SML in place now, you are not able to lift exceeding that limit because they are taping the real-time liftings that you are taking. So if I'm entitled based on my bond limit, able to lift about 1,000 liters of petrol, if I exceed that, the system will stop you. Okay? So that way, I cannot owe by lifting above my capacity. So you see that recently you don't hear issues about OMCs owing excessively and therefore they are disappearing. That used to be.
So you're saying that SML is also working for MPA?
No. Well, it's not necessarily working for MPA, but they are complementing the data that is coming out there. You know, the MPA data, or more or less the MPA meters, they are not real time in the sense this one is. In other words, providing a view to GRA at the time. Is afterthought, or not afterthought, but aftermath. GRA then gets the data after the transaction has happened. But with SML, the GRA gets real-time information on what is being lifted at what time, even at night. GRA has a view. But MPA's data will be transferred to GRA after the fact. So if I have exceeded my bond limit to where I could not pay, even if I sold, I could not pay, I would have done that after the fact that GRA sees. That's when they'll be chasing people for that. So the establishing a need for that business, I think that there's clearly a need for it. To be able to provide a control mechanism for GRA to then see this man you're entitled to 1,000, you pick 1,000. If you pay, then you can be released to pick more. But once you haven't paid, you cannot go back there and load again. That is a revenue assurance security that has been provided for GRA. And I think that there's value for that. And that, for me, is really what SML is doing. And so all the other things that is conflicting and then creating the impression as if they are doing anything, extra unacceptable, for me, is evidence of the sector competition that needs to be looked at. And then,
yes.
really, so on the contract itself,
yes,
is a contract that if at the end of the day, when when SML came in, the contract by its nature and design is such that if they had come and when their activities were not able to inure to any increase in revenue, they were not going to be compensated.
Yeah, but how do you attribute the increase in revenue to their work?
Well, because the volumes pre-SML have gone up.
Yeah, but I'm saying that there are many reasons. No, there are many reasons why the volumes increase.
Okay, so can you tell me?
I'm saying that even from a historical point of view,
yeah, for example,
there is always a yearly increase.
No. But if you look at look at the data. I've seen a bit of the data.
Yes.
The point is that when they came in, the volumes have gone up, and even if you want to dispute that, you can say that you are moving from a situation where the singular measurement of liftings is now being paired with another. So there's a means for cross-checking.
Which another?
With the SML's metering, right? The measurement they have brought. Before you only had the measurement of MPA, which is there at the depots. Now you have a secondary measurement from SML, which is checking what is taken here and what is taken here. So that you have a means to compare. So then you actually are holding the first meter accountable because you know that there's a second meter that will show you the true value. Okay, so the two must reconcile. So to that extent, there's a tendency, okay, to see that the system will work a bit more efficiently, and that's what they have produced. And their measurement is actually for GRA to look and see that in this particular time, as we speak even now, any of the depots that are loading, right, they are being recorded in terms of where they are the particular depot they are loading at separately in the particular place. The MPA data will be recorded, but then GRA will see the SML data at their own locations real time. So then you are forcing a situation where people...
Let me ask you a question. Granted that we have a revenue assurance need, what is it about this company 37 days after its formation, after the government won power, for which reason we thought that this is not something that we ought to open up to have companies that have expertise in revenue assurance everywhere to apply for? But we thought that this company, we must apply for sole sourcing for this company. We do not succeed once, we go again, same company. We don't succeed. We go the third time, this company, we don't succeed. The third time when we didn't succeed, we now go to the company that has an existing contract and get them to subcontract this role to this company. Then when their tenure ends, we get a GRA to give this contract to this company without going to the PPA. And then after they've done this, at the point where we wanted to now add upstream and mineral royalties, we now go to the GRA for that. No. Why would anybody do that?
But see that, so
wait. We have removed an electoral commissioner, an electoral commissioner, constitutional office, from office for procurement breaches.
No, so
we have sent people to jail. For procurement breaches.
So let's bring the issue here. I think we can expand it if you want to. You see, the point I am making is that there's an essential need for that business, which you have said that there's somebody else that was doing that business and therefore subcontracted and all of that.
That is not even downstream.
But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to link the need for that business, all right, to say that, do we have a problem with revenue from that particular sector, from the downstream?
Granted.
There is.
Yes. Did you know the number of problems we have? So the fact that you have a problem means you should violate the law.
But you see, if you have a problem and you're not solving it, I'm not sure that you are helping yourself. So you have a system through SML that you're looking to resolve that issue. I am only interested in establishing that there is a need for that business.
You are not interested in the fact that we were bent on creating this job for a particular company.
No, but see, so if you make
what I say even we is wrong, that you were bent so on creating this particular business for a particular company.
Yes. So
and that you tried 3 times with the PPA, you didn't succeed. You went to the back door and succeeded.
I mean, all of those things.
And then you gave them a contract. Now, because you are not succeeded with PPA on 3 occasions, you now give them the contract without the PPA's approval.
I agree.
Then afterwards,
but then now they have a ratified agreement. That's they have PPA documentation as it stands. So all the things Chami is talking about, illegal doesn't arise even.
Why doesn't it?
Because they have the documentation to prove.
You disagree that for a multi-year contract?
No, I'm not saying. No.
I'm asking a question
that shows parliamentary approval.
Oh, no, I didn't say parliamentary approval. Why do you just?
But without parliamentary approval,
I didn't say so. I said PPA. That's what I'm talking about. But the point I'm trying to make to you, is that we can go on those tangents of talking about.
They are not tangents.
No, what?
I'm saying that as we speak, there are people who are in prison.
Look, see,
sent to prison, prosecuted by this same government.
I am not engaging in that conversation.
An electoral commissioner was removed from office on the basis of procurement breaches.
I hear you on that, but I'm saying that there's a local matter before us, and that matter.
But the examples I gave you are not international.
when I say local, I'm talking about a present issue before us that we're talking about. The expansion to all of those ones. I don't want us to engage in that right now. On their own merit, we have discussed.
I am saying that
on their own merit, we have discussed.
A government that feels strongly that an electoral commissioner must be removed from their post because there were procurement breaches. A government that
was petitioned, right?
A government that believes. Why? Do you know the petitions that President Akufo-Addo has received and has not acted on? Do you want me to list them?
Well, he doesn't.
A government that believes that it should prosecute people because a subcommittee of a board approve something and not the main board. They should go to prison for that.
If you just give me
and
1
the
minute,
same government today, you are sitting in front of me and telling me that after all these things, some ratification has taken place.
I'm just telling you.
If you see the construction of this whole gig, you can tell.
I'm not even engaged in that conversation. I just say that before we engage and say they have done so and so and so, let's establish that is this country, were we losing revenue? Okay? For which reason there's a basis to get a company to help us recoup that or plug that leakage.
We were not interested. We were not interested in whether this country needs a Pegasus or not. We were not interested in whether this company needed the things that the Electoral Commission procured or not. We were not interested. In fact, whether those things were important or not was unnecessary.
Which helped them to win the election.
We were interested in whether they followed due process or not.
See, let's not conflict this issue with other things. I'm saying that the fundamental reason for us to move forward, or basis for us to move forward, then judge on the merit of that every other thing that you want to bring into it, is to establish that, do we have a problem? Okay? At the time SML came in, did we have a revenue problem? And the answer is yes. Okay? So if you are the president of this country, if you are the president of this country, and you have a problem with revenue, and you want to plug that hole, you get people to do it. You have people who say they can do it, and you tell them, okay, you go and fix the problem. I know I have a problem there. You go and fix the problem. But if you go and you are not able to fix the problem, I don't owe you anything. And the individual takes the risk. Okay? The individual takes the risk to say that if I go and I don't save you any money, if I go and I don't add to your revenue, if I go and I don't solve that problem of revenue leakage you have at the downstream, I will not come and ask you for any compensation. But if I do, based on the nature of the contract, then I get some compensation. And they go set out on a job, set up a system that can ensure that you then fix that problem. I don't see that to be an adverse undertaking. It's an undertaking that will help you as a government solve your problem. And the problem we have is revenue, revenue leakages. And you have gone to solve that revenue leakage problem. I don't think that that's primarily is wrong.
3 minutes to answer Richard.
But of course, I will
do we have
just a few minutes
for revenue assurance? Yes. But that revenue assurance is already being done through the ERDMS system and the ICOM system.
It's not true.
You don't understand the downstream petroleum sector better than Mustafa Hamid, the head of the regulator of that sector, the National Petroleum Authority. And he says their system does the very thing and even more than what SML claims to be doing. The officer of GRA who spoke on that documentary says they don't even use SML's work for revenue collection. And SML's own IT guru, who understands SML's work better than you, says that their system is the same as what NPA has already deployed. Stop defending the indefensible. Number 2, do we have a need for revenue assurance? We do. It is already happening. We don't need a duplicitous contract. But assuming you want to be wasteful, assuming that you even want to be wasteful and have another layer of check, go through the law. Because Ghana is a country governed by the rule of law. This is what Section 33 of the Public Financial Management Act says. A covered entity which includes GRA shall not enter into any agreement with a financial commitment that binds the government for more than 1 year, 1 financial year, or that results in a contingent liability, except where the financial commitment or the contingent liability is with the prior written approval of the minister and authorized by Parliament in accordance with Article 181 of the Constitution, which is prior approval of Parliament. Now you come to Section 98, what Dr. Abe is telling you, but you don't want to understand deliberately. Let me read the consequences of that to you. Section 98, penalty for contravention of this act. A person who contravenes or knowingly permits another person to contravene a provision of this act, I'm reading the D, or the regulations, commits an offense, and where no penalty is provided for the offense, is liable on summary conviction to a fine of not less than 100 penalty units and not more than 250 penalty units, or to a term of imprisonment of not less than 6 months and not more than 2 years, or to both. We are talking about crimes. That is what we are talking about here. So you can't come and wish everything away by saying, oh, there is a need. There is a need. There is a need. It is already being done.
All right.
Even if it is not being done and you want to do it, follow the law. And lastly, your claim that because of the entry of SML, revenue has gone up is completely untenable, because the factors that determine revenue in the downstream petroleum sector have not been static. Those factors include taxes on petroleum produce. It includes consumption of petroleum products. You understand? So those factors, if they are going up, revenue will go up. If you claim SML is doing the right work and we are getting results, your president says we are not getting full results, full benefits for the payments we have made. And if you claim that we have gotten full benefits, show us just one OMC, doc, and let's close one OMC who has been convicted for tax fraud in the downstream sector on the basis of SML's work.
No, but you
because you are MPP communications director, you want to defend everything.
No, Sammy, please stop this thing. You need to stop this.
What?
Sammy, listen. You need to stop this personal thing. Otherwise,
this is not personal. This is not personal. No, please. I am saying that why must you defend this?
Hold on.
I am entitled to that. Don't make comments about what I say.
Sammy, see, you just need to tell him. You need to stop this personal attack. No, please.
The same way
Sammy, just listen. No, I don't comment on you, but you are directing.
Don't you sit here and say I've not said anything?
No.
I don't have any policy. I don't have any understanding.
I didn't say.
Don't you say those things? Please. I am not even attacking you. I am saying that your defense of this matter is wrong. It's not a personal
But I'm just saying that.
Stop this emotional blackmail.
No, I'm not emotionally blackmail.
I'm just letting your defense of something is wrong.
I'm just letting you know.
Personal attack.
I'm just letting you know that's what you do often. Just stop.
And that is right.
It's not useful.
I will continue to do it. Okay. Just like you do it.
That's fine. So the point I want to make essentially is that there is a basis for the work that he has done. And KPMG's report actually validated the position that they have their participation or their work has led to an increase in revenue in excess of 2 billion, right? Now, they, SML, contend that amount. They say that is probably run around 12 to 14 billion that their participation has inured in terms of revenue assurance. So the whole conversation about whether or not they are relevant has been established. And I'm saying that if let's focus on that, then you can discuss the other matters around it. Why
won't you publish the KPMG report?
Well, that is on my prerogative. That's on my prerogative. Okay, that's on my prerogative.
Should it be published?
If the need for it arises,
but this is a public interest matter. It's a matter that was broken by. So, for example, do you even think that it's even fair? Let's not even extend it to the public. It's even fair to Fourth Estate that broke this thing, that they do not have a copy of the report, because the president referring the thing to KPMG was as a result of that expose.
Right. Well, you know, that's my prerogative, and I've indicated. But what is before us is what we're discussing. And that evidence...
No, I've asked you a question.
Well, I cannot...
At the center of this is the KPMG report.
Right.
Especially when you even have...
But you can't ask me that question. Oh. Because I've already answered to you that I don't have the prerogative to make a decision on that.
No, I'm not asking you to make a decision.
Yeah, so what answer? I can't give you any answer. You are only going to...
You don't work for SML.
Yes.
But you have explained in detail your understanding of what the SML contract is about. So what I was asking was that the audit report, there's a public interest matter. The president refers it to an audit.
Yeah, can I just finish my submission?
The audit firm has presented its report.
You don't have time.
Yeah, the audit firm has presented its report. Shouldn't this report be made public?
That's not my prerogative.
Okay.
But Doc, is he here speaking for himself? He's representing the government.
He reserves the right not to speak.
But he speaks for
point.
No, he reserves the right not to speak.
I mean, I don't know.
Nobody can force him to speak.
I don't know.
He reserves the right not to speak.
I don't know.
The communication director of the NPP
reserves
the right not to speak for the NPP government.
He reserves the right to answer things the way he wants to.
Sabi, I don't really know what.
Okay. You said I don't have time, so can I go?
How convenient.
Can I go?
No. But
you said I don't have time, so
after you have disrupted.
Let me go.
No, but the point I want to make. The point I want to make is that I don't trivialize the matters that you are raising. But what I want us to understand is that that is a very contentious space because interests are at stake. And so the introduction of SML is not going to be a welcome factor because other people's interests are affected by that. And I believe that as a government, you must take bold steps if you must
follow the law, especially when you have a pension of sending people to prison for not following the law.
You keep taking me away from this point. The point I want to make essentially is that you have a primary issue. Much of our problem in this country is revenue related. And so when you find a way of closing those leakages, then you should do that.
I think it's expenditure. It's frivolous expenditure related.
Well, if you have revenue in volumes, your expenditures are not spent on things that are not material.
I don't believe in looking for extra revenue just so that you can keep on spending frivolously.
But if you make that point, then you are probably creating the impression that government spends on things that don't benefit Ghanaians. But no, government's expenditures are accounted for. Everything government takes and spends on, they are accounted for. So they cannot be frivolous. You may disagree on the particular project or not, but those things are accounted for. Our parliament is involved, and all that monies that are taken are accounted for. So nothing can be said to be frivolous or government being reckless in spending in anything.
When you read the COVID expenditure, does it make you proud? When you read the Auditor General's report on the COVID expenditure, does it make you proud? When you read the Auditor General's report, does it make you proud about the things that we spend money on?
Now, why?
Like
what? Like what is frivolous in there? The perception was that everything should be spent on COVID directly. That's people's perception. So when it came and people saw that was the perception. That when it came that not everything. What do you mean? When it came that not all the money was spent directly on COVID and others were spent on budget support and the rest, people felt that it was, diversion of the revenue.
But it's payments for no work done.
Please.
Printers. It is in the Auditor General's reports. 40 million Ghana cedis for COVID-19 safety protocols education in public senior high schools.
That's the point I am making. How do you know it wasn't that?
The Auditor General says
the point I am saying. We see, when the report came, there was an aspect. It's important. There was an aspect that affected Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah's ministry about some monies that they have spent. And what we found out was that when the auditors came, the explanations and the input that they needed to make, those meetings, those exit meetings were not done. So therefore, they didn't have record for what work was done. So you cannot conclude that because the auditor says that, and the auditor report, it goes to Parliament all the time, and then we know what happens because the auditing process requires people to make input and submit data to be able to validate the expenditure. And after that, those submissions are done and the accounts are rectified. So have you
retrieved the Sputnik money?
I don't know the state
of it. Have you retrieved it?
I don't know the state of that. But
let's go.
But you see that this thing, you have to be very fair. The point I am saying here is that let's not create the false impression, that they were there to do anything that was no value for the SML. That it was there to do anything that was no value for, and government supported or aided them to do anything unhelpful to the economy.
SML
the evidence from the KPMG report,
on the basis of the president's report.
Yes, the evidence
on the basis of the president's report.
Yeah.
If you look at the total construction of all this SML thing, it leaves you with just one conclusion. From the first attempt.
That your conclusion?
No, Michael, I'm saying on the basis of the information, because you Richard, know you very well.
Yeah.
If it were the other way around, and you had that picture, That people deliberately be with one company. You go one, you are bounced. Twice, you are bounced. Thrice, you are bounced. You go and look for a back door. This thing ends. You give the contract. After 5 years, you go and do ratification.
You don't see that.
Try to add.
You don't see that as a conviction. As a conviction that there's a problem to be solved.
Okay.
You don't see that.
Number one, I have information for viewers.
Hey, please.
No. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama wants me to let our viewers, cherished viewers, and the good people of Ghana to know that the next NDC government will retrieve every penny paid under the illegal SMS contracts for the development. Yes, for the development of this country. We will retrieve every penny. And this KPMG report, they can't hide it forever. We will publish it. We will all see everything in it.